Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you are watching me from. My name is Olushola Oyelami. I'm a registered nurse, a diabetes educator, certified diabetes educator. I'm so proud of myself to be doing what I'm doing. At this moment, I'm not talking about diabetes. I just wanted to talk about, what that happened to me recently. I had a very severe headache, the headache that I referred to as a tension headache. It was a type of a clustered headache. Uh, I've never had, a history of a migraine or any type of headache. I'm not usually having any type of headache. So this headache started, you know, um, on a Thursday afternoon. That day, I actually worked from home. I didn't go to the office, I worked from home. And, I felt it. I'm like, what? Why is this? Why am I having a headache? It was funny because I laugh about everything. So, I went downstairs. I told my husband, I said, I'm having a headache. He was like, oh, you don't usually have an headache? I'm like, yes. So it was kind of funny to both of us. So in the evening, after that day's work, I took a dose of Tylenol. I think I took 2 pills of 500 milligram of Tylenol, which is 1,000 milligram. So, in the evening, I went to bed. The headache was gone. So on Friday, I went to work. And around lunchtime, I felt the headache again. I'm like, what type of headache is this? I'm like, well, you know, I was doing what I was doing at work. I came back home, I took another dose of Tylenol and I went to bed. So the next day again was on Saturday. I was getting ready to travel to Nigeria. I didn't take no Tylenol because it was in the morning. So I did what I needed to do. I prepared, I went to the airport. I got on plane. When I got to the plane, the headache was like coming gradually, and it was like, I'm like, maybe it was due to stress, maybe it was due to lack of enough sleep. I promised myself that I was gonna sleep very well in the plane, which I did, because I was gonna be on the plane for about 11 to 12 hours to get to Amsterdam. So when I landed in Amsterdam, I felt the pain, the headache again, and I took some Tylenol, 500 milligram. So by the time I landed, on Sunday in Nigeria, the plane, the headache was kind of bad. It was bad, bad. It was kind of severe. To me, it wasn't just an ordinary headache. And I'm thinking in my brain that maybe I was stressed. But I believe I slept while I was in the plane. So this was my picture when I got to the airport here in Houston, Texas. I'm gonna show you another picture of mine while I was in the plane. This was my picture from Amsterdam to Nigeria. The eye here is kind of going down, but I thought, maybe I didn't have enough sleep. By the time I landed in Nigeria, I was like this, and I knew that something was wrong with me. What wrong? I really didn't know, because I thought it was just an ordinary headache. So I told myself, it was around that evening time. I got to my hotel around maybe 9-10 p.m. I ordered something to eat. I ate, then I had some shower, then prepared to sleep. So the next day, which was on Monday, I was supposed to leave Lagos to Osun State. I couldn't go because of the headache. I'm like, let me rest. Let me just give myself that day to rest. and I rested well. I'm looking for another picture to show you. So when I got to Osogbo, I was like, okay, I didn't have to go to anywhere. So on I got to Osogbo on Tuesday. So on Wednesday, I took off to go to Kogi State because I actually went for an event. If a close friend of mine was, to have a party in Kogi State. So I wanted to go to my own town in Kogi State to have some rest at Ejuku before, going to the place of the event. So by the time I got to my hometown on Wednesday evening, I was already, seeing something different in me. So let me look for the picture and show it to you. So this was one of the picture that I took. If you look very well, you can see that one of my eyes was almost closed. It was almost closed. So I called one of my uncle that I'm in town, but that I wasn't feeling fine. I had a very severe headache, and he told me, "Oh, Aburo, just lock up yourself in your room, get some rest. That it might be due to stress." So I lock up myself. I rested. I didn't, people were already waiting. My cousins, family friends that knew that I was coming were already waiting. I just went straight to my room and I told them I really don't want to see any visitor. So I was laying down for like 2-3 hours. By the time I woke up, my eyes was like this. It became a concern, that what could have caused my eyes to close down. I knew I was having a headache and the headache was not stopping. With some pain relief, with some pain reliever, it will relieved me. But after about 4 hours, then the headache will aggravate again. It was bad that I couldn't even enjoy myself. I was just, try to do stuff. I'm a very strong lady that don't give up easily. So, on the 25th, which I was supposed to take off to go to, to the event I came for, because the event was supposed to be 2 days event. A friend of mine that I saw last while I was in secondary school came to visit me. So, this was me and him. So he came to visit me and I told him, I was preparing to go to, a next, to one hospital that is not too far from my town. So my town is not a city. It is, in America, we call it like a countryside. So in Nigeria, we can refer to it as a village, but it wasn't like a real village, but it is at least kind of close to a village. It is not a big city like Lagos or Ibadan. So this guy, I left him at home with, my family member. He came with one of his twins children. So, I just told my people to make them comfortable. And I left, to see a doctor. One of the first shock was that at that city, General Hospital, the name of the town is Isonlo. There was no doctor available as at the time they took me there. There was no doctor at that general hospital. If I say there was no doctor, I really mean it. There was a matron, there were nurses, there were staffs, but no single doctors there to attend to me. I was thinking in my brain, what if it was something very terrible? What if it was like a respiratory distress? Is this how I will have just come to my town and die like that without being seen by any doctor? That is a story for another day. But there was no doctor to attend to me. They checked my blood pressure. They told me it was a little bit elevated. Yes, it was expected because I was in a serious pain. The headache was serious. If I was to rate it on the scale of 1 to 10, I would have given it 10, over 10, or even more than 10. So, we started calling. My uncle took me, was like calling. There was another doctor that took care of my late dad, and this same doctor is still taking care of my mom. We called him. It was, out of the state. It was at Abuja. I believe he has other clinic there. So inside me, I'm like, oh wow, this is how people die in the rural area. It is so concerning. But I was praying that, something terrible should not happen to me. But I was close to at least not passing out, because of the other pain medications I was taking was like at least giving me some type of relief. But my head was pounding. My right upper eyelid was like pounding like this. So we decided to call a close friend who is a pharmacist at Abuja. So he was the one who prescribed, me to go get some pain medication. He told me the name. Out of the two names he told me, I have one that was prescribed for me at Osogbo before I left. So I bought the other one right in front of the pharmacy. I took the medication and we went back, to my town to get prepared for where I was going to. I'm a very strong person. I don't give up easily. I went for that event and I really wanted to be at the event. So I got ready. I quickly changed. I got ready before I got back. My friend that I saw last in 86, who came to visit me with his son, already left, which is okay. So we got to, the name of the city or the place I went to for the event is called Iyara in Kogi State. This Iyara is not too far from Kaba. So I was there, I'm a very lively person, full of life. I put on, some sunscreen even at night because my right eye already closed. I could barely even walk or see with the second one, because once one eye is affected, the other one is definitely automatically affected. So thank God, I was able to manage myself at the occasion. Friday, Saturday, then I went back to my town at Ejuku on Sunday. So when I got back, I was just managing myself. And everybody that came to see me was like, oh, what is wrong with your face? What is wrong with you? What has happened to you? At a point in time, this was me. This was me. And I was still attending to people. But inside of me, I was praying that I should not lose my eye, because I don't really want to lose any of my eye. And I was thinking in my brain, so this is how some people lose their eyes. It happened to me. Now I know what people are actually going through when they have lost one of their eye. So my eyes was closed, and I have to go back. So on Monday morning, I left my town to Osogbo. I called one doctor on my way to Osogbo to be sure I'm gonna be able to see him, because I was ready to turn myself in to his hospital or clinic. Unfortunately, he didn't answer. I sent several messages. My brother-in-law was with me, sent messages. He didn't return my text messages until about 9:02 p.m. at night. By that time, I was already laying down in my bed. I couldn't go. I talked to one of my friends. Before I actually got to Osogbo, I left my town on Monday and I stopped over at Ado-Ekiti. So one of the Catholic hospitals there, one of my baby cousins took me there. They examined my eyes. They told me I have to go to the general, it is called Ado-Ekiti Teaching Hospital, that I have to go there, for the doctors to examine me further, to see an ophthalmologist. They examine my eyes. That story, everything that happened to me at that hospital, I'm still gonna talk about it. How the lights were being taken, about 3, 4, 5 times before I finally left that hospital. And they gave me a small paper. They actually wrote something on a paper for me that I should take to Afe Babalola Hospital for an MRI. I've never seen that type of order in my life. I'm gonna show that to you also. And that story again is gonna be for another day, because I'm even interested in how people, are being taken care of in Nigeria when they are sick. How do they get diagnosed? What did they base their diagnosis on? Diagnostic imaging, diagnostic maybe lab work. How do they actually do it in Nigeria? How do they treat people? I really need, I need to talk about it because of my experience. So the first hospitals I went to, there was no doctor at all, no single doctor to attend to me. Thank God it was not a cardiac arrest, it wasn't a respiratory problem that would have maybe landed me in the mortuary. So at Ado Ekiti, there were doctors, there were ophthalmologists. None of them even ever thought of maybe ordering me to go do lab work. No. But they gave me, I'm looking for the paper. They gave me a small paper, they wrote something on it. They said, take it to Afebalola Hospital to get MRI done. So how would the result of, okay, this was the order given to me by a doctor from Ado Ekiti Teaching Hospital. They just wrote MRI and they said to rule out SOL and cranial nerve 3 pulse. I asked the doctor, what is SOL? She told me no. She won't tell me. I'm like, tell me, I'm a medical personnel. I'm a nurse. I'm this, I'm that. She was like, no, ma'am, I don't want to scare you. Just take it to that university. Tell them, if you show it to them, they're going to understand. This was the order given to me to take, to that university to go get MRI. Anyway, I didn't go. Because why? They told me if I get the MRI done on Tuesday, that I will have to go back there either on Tuesday evening or Wednesday to get the results and bring it back to that teaching hospital at Ado. I don't have time for that. I don't even know how many hours it's gonna take to get the MRI done. And I was already tired because I was exhausted. Going back and forth like, I don't want to say millions times because I really don't want to exaggerate anything. So I was there going back and forth with many people there screaming. We've been here since 7 a.m. Everybody went there for different things, but it was the eye center, the ophthalmology center at that teaching hospital. So this order has no doctor's name. It has nothing other than to rule out SOL and cranial nerve 3 pulse. The doctor who prescribed this, who gave me this, I don't know, maybe I should call it order or paper. Her name is not there, her signature is not there, the name of the hospital where I was being given this paper is not written here. No date, nothing. Maybe I'm just thinking too much into this, I don't know. Maybe because I'm a registered nurse in America is what that has made me think too much into this order. I don't know. But, I begin to develop interest in knowing what is actually going on in Nigeria's hospitals. So, going back to my history or my journey of the highs. So, I got to Osogbo on Wednesday and I left there to Lagos. So one of my friends said, just come to Lagos, where she had a high surgery. She was ready to take me there, and it was when I got to Lagos, I just dressed casually, When I got to Lagos, I met her up and we went to the eye clinic at VI. So I saw is what I was expecting to see. I saw it there. I saw different type of equipment, and the way they attended to me is superb. This is the name of the clinic or the high hospital where they took me to in VI. Another thing over there is that, oh, you have to go do MRI. When you do MRI, go to Ilupeju, go do the MRI. Then they're gonna put something on top of the order they gave me that I should come back. I'm gonna have to bring the result back to the clinic. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I've gone through this. I've been to different type of hospitals within the last couple of days. But I'm happy to see somebody at least having the type of equipment that we do have here in the US. But the only difference is that you're gonna be the one to go there, which is okay. If they refer you, you still have to go. But you will be the one to go back again on the day the result is out to bring it back to that hospital for them to tell you, what is actually wrong with your eyes. So from every test I did at this clinic, they just say, ma'am, go to our center at Ilupeju tomorrow, because it was already late to go there on that same day. Go to our branch over there, do MRI, then you're gonna have to come back with the result whenever they give it to you. It could be tomorrow or it could be next tomorrow. So can I at least know the result of the test I paid for? The question is no. So when you come back with the result of the MRI, that is when the doctor will be willing to talk to you. And I'm gonna be honest with you, from one room to the other, I think they did about 6 tests altogether, looking into my eyes. No prescription for anything. Thanks goodness, the next day, which was Friday, I decided not to go to Norway. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to come back, because my husband already told me come back to US. My uncle already told me come back to the US. When I go back to the US, I turned myself in the ER, emergency room. And American being what they are, the medical here being what it is, the first thing they did, as the provider was listening to my story in the emergency room, she was ordering blood lab work, she was ordering CT scan, and she said, let us wait for this. And she ordered them to give me some pain medication with Benadryl, which they did. IV already started. So they gave me the Benadryl with the pain medication, after they already draw my blood. The nurse was with me, checking my blood pressure, doing all sorts of things when they called the critical value for me. And guess what the critical value was? My potassium level was critically low. It was 2.9. As a nurse, when they said, oh, we are calling critical value for Mrs. Oyelami, I was like, oh my gosh, what could it be? So when they said potassium level 2.9, I'm like, oh my gosh, that may have been the reason why I was being dizzy. I was dizzy throughout. I could barely walk, even while, I told you it was a long journey. I could barely walk. My head was like spinning. The headache was non-stop. So I was a little bit scared when I had the critical lab, potassium 2.9. So, thanks goodness, the medication given to me at the ER made me sleep. Of course, I said there was a dose of Benadryl given through the IV. So when I woke up, my husband was already, sitting next to me. So, and the nurse came back after about 4 or 5 hours asking me, ma'am, do you need another pain medication? I said no, because the headache went down. Not completely, but my pain was about 3/10, which I told the nurse. So at least for the first time, I know the possible cause of my headache that has started 2 weeks ago. Then, now that I know the cause, it was in the blood, which nobody from all the hospital I went in Nigeria ever thought of drawing my lab. Everybody was just looking at my eyes. They were just, pressing my eyes, looking at it, taking pictures. I appreciate everything they did. But sometimes the problem is in the blood. The problem is in the fluid, not physical problem. I don't want this video to be too long. I'm gonna pause it and start my second video. Thank you for listening. And if you have any question, please feel free to put your question underneath, underneath the question boxes. Put it there. I'm making this video for many reasons, not just to talk about my headache. I'm talking about headache, yes, and I'm gonna be talking again about what is going on in Nigeria. How do they treat people in Nigeria? And another thing I'm gonna be talking about are the friends and families. How did they react when you have problems in Nigeria? Do they see it as a medical problem or as a spiritual problem? I'm gonna get to that. Thank you again for watching. Stay tuned. Bye for now.